Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Now, Africa is ripe for transformation. It is home to 9 of the world's 15 fastest growing economies, making the continent an increasingly attractive environment for global business investment. Technology and education are the two great equalizers in life, and harnessing the power of tech and digitization can transform local economies and create many new opportunities. It's evident our governing officials are making an effort to not only develop our technology sector, but find opportunities to merge the private and public sector. It leads us to ask, what does digitization of our economy mean for technology investors? Joining us to discuss this is our guest of the day, Lexi Novitsky. She's still here with us. And our in-house analyst, Nena Hugo, is joining us as well. Welcome back to the morning show.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are talking about government's contribution to technology. Is it a contribution or is it like an interference? What's your take on government stepping in to the technology space?
I think the government certainly has a positive role to play. We spoke earlier about data protection, and I think making sure that the consumer is protected will help the overall industry grow because it'll increase trust and transparency. I think likewise, the government not understanding some sectors of tech can actually have a detrimental effect as they get heavily involved. One aspect of this has been the government's involvement in cryptocurrencies and even some blockchain solutions, especially in East Africa. And that's probably set them back quite a bit.
Yeah. How do you think digitizing our economy is going to change the way we live on a day-to-day basis, especially here in Nigeria?
So I think digitization can solve a lot of digitalization can solve a lot of problems that we're facing on a daily basis, from making sure we have access to relevant content, so we're not just viewing content that's produced in the US, but things that are relevant to us, having more efficient transportation, being able to transact with somebody not just using cash, but in more efficient ways through digital payments, for example. Accessing credit across the board, I think.
Yeah, because so
she started off with digitization and then changed that to digitalization. So what's the difference? Because a lot of people do not know. They keep it like mixing the two up.
Yeah, so I think it's nuanced, and I think now they're probably used quite interchangeably. But digitization is really the transference of something that's analog to digital. So, for example, you mentioned healthcare records are in paper. Moving that to a digital platform would be digitization.
Okay.
But it doesn't give a lot of value to the business or consumer except for efficiency until you use other sort of things like AI or data analytics to really analyze that and see how you can improve your business operations or provide additional revenue streams or services to your customers. So a lot of digital businesses that are coming out are much more in that digitalization space. They're developing new business lines.
So Uber is digitalization?
Yes.
Okay, all right. We're learning. Yeah. We're learning.
Okay, well, Nena, I saw you pretty excited this morning about Vice President Oshibajo's visit to Paystack,
I think
Flutterwave, Andela, all these places. Now, why is it important to you to see a representative of the government paying attention to this industry?
I think, like you said, it shows that the government is taking not only a closer look, but a hands-on approach about what's going on the ground. The fact that he was able to go to so many of these establishments that are creating opportunities such as jobs, but also changing the way that we live here in this country shows that this is a very, very important aspect of what he's trying to do. I think that, I think as they see more of the government, become involved, people will want to inquire more about it. What's going on here on the ground? How can I key into, investing in technology or even just learning more about technology? Because at the end of the day, we're going digital, whether people like it or not. So I think it's him showing their intent to move forward in this regards.
Interesting. How do you think digitization can actually help the elections coming up? Because we have campaigning that's going to start pretty soon.
Right.
The elections in February, right?
Yeah.
Yes. How do you think tech can actually help us with this?
Yeah. Maybe I'll just go back and respond a little bit to Nena's comment. I think so. The Nigerian digital economy can add 88 billion to industry and 3 million jobs over the next 10 years. has the potential to do this.
Wow.
Not my numbers, consultants, if you want to believe them. But I think the government is really realizing that this is a huge opportunity, especially as the industry moves away from oil and gas, which has been a very volatile sector. And going back to how technology can really be used for voting transparency, but also government efficiency, there's a lot of solutions that can really be integrated with government to improve transparency over regulations, but also bidding on contracts and who wins those contracts and how the money is spent. Identity when it comes to voter registration. More accountability. Now, not everybody in the government wants this, right? But it certainly helps the Nigerian people, and I think it would help the government also operate much more efficiently.
Yeah, efficiency and corruption. It's very anti-corrupt.
Yeah.
But as we continue to go digital, we're gonna be aggregating content and like people's data. My worry is, this whole Cambridge Analytica scandal. It's going to be in the hands of, potentially could be in the hands of people that would use it in adverse ways.
Well, actually, Nigeria was cited as being one of the countries.
I know. Wow. So it's kind of like, I think it's kind of like how can we ensure that our data, our privacy is, protected? So I think it's also going to be interesting to see how the government, ushers us along the way and builds trust, because I think right now there's still a little bit of that disconnect in trusting the government in spaces like this.
Yeah, that's interesting. I want to bring it to investors like you. Now, I'm always asking companies about like government policies that would attract other investors into this space, because a lot of Nigeria's reputation online is getting better. It's improving. It's not what it was 5 years ago, but there's still a lot to be done. I'll go off a bit. I was watching Wendy Williams yesterday, and some guy was asking a question about Nigerian prince, and I was just in 2018, why? But bringing it back to investors, global investors who are not probably watching shows like that, but just want to see what policies are on ground that would protect their investment. What sort of government policies would you think would attract them?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Actually, a lot of the companies that are getting a lot of funding are actually entities set up in the US, even though they're Nigerian-run businesses by Nigerian founders. And the reason for that is the capital is there, and investors feel more comfortable investing in a Delaware incorporated company rather than investing in Nigeria, where there's risks of getting your money out. There's maybe not a lot of judicial protection if something goes wrong. So that's actually what we're seeing a lot of. I think that will probably continue to be the case for a period, but as Nigeria evolves and advances, and we can trust our legal system, and investors can trust that they can actually see the returns and get the money out, without dealing with the foreign exchange restrictions, and that should certainly change. The
legal system.
That definitely plays a role. But are you also helping Nigerians invest their money outside of Nigeria as well?
So we're not. We're actually, we're investing Pan-African, right? So all of our money currently comes from one investor.
Okay.
And we have separate entities set up depending on where we do our investment out of. But I think there's a huge potential for local Nigerians to really drive a lot of startup growth, especially early stage. Functioning tech ecosystems across the world have been driven by investors that have come out of other businesses can help with mentoring and not just the capital. And that's something that Nigeria still lacks.
And then also with outsourcing, do you think Nigeria is on the map in terms of outsourcing here for tech developers and things like that? Because Andela's great, and I've heard people say that they've gone off to Silicon Valley from this. But do you think the potential is actually there, or is it just...
Sure, it's there. I know of other companies that are setting up call centers to work in global markets. It's actually something that South Africa has done really well in both outsourcing of developer talent and call centers for other global markets across the world. I think you could see Nigeria certainly move into that space, but then I would like to see Nigeria retaining its high-quality talent to build businesses here that the businesses would grow across.
So quick question. I know you invest in tech and media. Does media cover films? So would you be interested in investing like Nollywood?
So yes, but not yet. And Look, it's actually in Nigeria, it's one of the fastest growing entertainment and media sectors across, the fastest growing market for entertainment and media across the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, Nigerians consume, I think the stat I saw was second only to Vietnam, the per capita consumption of media on mobile is the highest across the world, which is pretty
high.
great.
Yeah, we don't even have everybody on having a mobile device, a smartphone yet. So imagine the potential if everybody has a smartphone.
Yeah, completely.
Well done, Lexi. You're doing an amazing job with Singularity. Well done. How can people reach you? Your website?
So my Twitter handle is anovitsky. Our website is singularityinvest.com, and I'm on media, Lexi Novitsky.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, Nana. Well, that brings us to the end of the morning show today. Thank you so much for watching. From the entire morning show team here in Lagos, all that's left to say is enjoy the rest of your morning and, of course, the rest of your day. Goodbye.